What's up, YouTubers? So before we get started with this video, on Get Up, they're going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tight end Rob Gronkowski and how he's in a great position to be playing with Tom Brady again and to be playing for the Bucs. So let's see what they have to say about that.
What does Gronk need to be for the Buccaneers this year to be what they want to be?
Well, I think he needs to be at his very best, and in order to make this offense to be totally multiple and as dynamic as they potentially, feel as though they can be. And it seems like he's on his way to doing that. It seems like Rob has really right now got everything back together from a mental and physical standpoint, meaning he's mentally refreshed and physically he just doesn't feel sore anymore. And he's much more fluid and much more explosive.
I agree.
And he's lighter, and he's lighter in his mind. Everything seems to be fun for him right now. I could easily see in this offense, considering the fact that they can attack you outside the numbers, down the field, and really have people want to back off in that respect and play safeties deep, and then allow Rob to really go ahead and exploit the middle of the field between the numbers like he did in all those years in New England with Tom Brady. And with that, I think you can potentially see him having one of those 70-catch, 1,100-yard seasons, 10 touchdowns, where if he does that, and this offense is in the top 5, and this defense continues to come on under Todd Bowles, there's no question that Tampa Bay right there is challenging for the NFC title and
I agree.
potentially to represent the NFC in Tampa Bay in their home stadium in the Super Bowl. If he can do that and put up those kind of numbers and gel with that offense that way, look out for this team. I mean, and I know they're in a tough division in the NFC South, and I still consider New Orleans Saints to be the favorites in that division. But if this guy can play like this, once it really counts and they put on the pads well into the season, this is going to be a very formidable offense. There's no question about that.
Jeff, what are you hearing?
So I'm definitely happy Gronkowski is able to come on back because I always felt he still has some football left in him. And I'm also glad he's had a whole year off to heal up all the nicks, cuts, and scrapes that he may have accumulated over the years. And whatever major injuries he had a whole year of not getting hit and just being able to heal up. What was it, his shoulder or his elbow? So I'm really happy for that. And I expect big things from Gronkowski this year because I think he's a baller. He still has it. And having him reunite with Tom Brady, those guys are going to kill it this year. So let's continue.
About the Brady-Gronk dynamic down there in Tampa.
Well, Lewis nailed it when he mentioned not only the physical aspect of this, but the mental aspect of it. Something else that Gronk said during when he was speaking with reporters is that I feel like I belong here. And look, a lot of times we've been stepping on eggshells when it comes to Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski and how they felt about the Patriot way. And really, honestly, I don't know why. Rob Gronkowski didn't like it. He didn't enjoy a lot of the rigors that came with playing for the Patriots. That doesn't mean that he didn't ultimately have great success that should be celebrated, but he didn't really love it at times. Tom Brady essentially had to convince him to come back for another season. He did, and ultimately then retired after that. This is a guy who has renewed energy, both physical and mental, and I think the mental aspect of it can go just as far as the physical side of it.
That's a really...
Yeah, so I wouldn't doubt that it might be mentally taxing playing for a coach like Bill Belichick. So Bill Belichick is a coaching guru, but that doesn't mean that after playing with him for years that you don't get tired of that militant way of being coached by Bill Belichick. And also, like I said, a change of an environment and teaming up with your old quarterback, that's really gonna boost up Rob Gronkowski's attitude and willing to play. So let's take a quick look at Rob Gronkowski's stats from 2018, which was the last year that he played. So he caught the rock 47 times. He caught for 682 yards. He caught 3 touchdowns, and he averaged 14.5 yards a catch. So needless to say, those aren't the best of records or the best of stats for Rob Gronkowski, but he did wind up winning a Super Bowl out of that. And I do remember during that Super Bowl week, he was talking about how everybody else is happy about being at the Super Bowl, but he said he couldn't wait till it was over because that's how much pain he was in. So I'm really happy he's had a year off. He's changed, he's away from Bill Belichick. He's reunited with Tom Brady, and I expect big things from Rob Gronkowski. So let's continue.
Important point. You know what, guys? Let's try and I'm talking to the staff now. When Rob Gronkowski announced his retirement, I remember him almost breaking down into tears, talking about how he had felt he was losing the joy in his life. And Lewis, I think that's what Jeff is referring to. And this is not meant to be an indictment on Bill Belichick or anybody, but that's one way of...
Well, it is kind of an indictment on Bill Belichick because you have 2 Hall of Famers that wanted to leave that means something. And they both still have gas in the tank. Tom Brady can still play. Rob Gronkowski can still play, even though he was injured and things of that nature. He can still play. So you kind of have to. You can't help but to look at Bill Belichick and then wonder why did these two Hall of Famers want to leave you, and they've been to the Super Bowl within the past 2 to 3 years. So I don't know. Let's continue.
Doing things, and I think after a long time, it wears on you. And a free spirit like Gronk, it clearly wore on him, or wore on him. And Lewis, maybe there is a little bit of a new lease on life element here.
There's no question about it. Look, and that's why I referenced it quickly when I was just talking about what his prospects could be on the football field. That it wasn't just about his physical state; it was about his mental state. And you're right, Green. I mean, he looked like a guy who was beaten, a guy who had lost his joy and lost who he was as far as being that free-spirited, freewheeling, fun-having type of player. And he needed a break. He needed to refresh. And you know what? When you get into that point in your career where you've had so much success like him and you're a surefire Hall of Famer and you're a multiple-time Super Bowl winner, you need things to continue to boost you along and continue to make you say, hey, you know what? When I walk down those steps in the morning and it's so hard to get out of bed and you have to hold on to the railing on those steps to make sure you don't fall down them. And I know what that is like. You need.
So I bet you it's more than just getting up in pain and having to use a railing to walk around. I bet you Gronkowski was having to take, pain meds before he even got up. Taking Dilaudid, Percocets, and Vicodins. I've heard of war stories from old veterans that in order for them to just start the day, they have to start off with like 10 pain pills. So I bet you Gronkowski was going through it all. That's why I'm so happy he's had a whole year to recover. He's fresh and mentally and physically. And, I'm just really happy that he's back with Tom Brady, and I bet he's going to ball out. And it kind of makes me think, how many guys retired because they were injured and just beat up when all they really needed to do was just take 1 year off to recuperate and then come back and continue balling. So, I don't know. Let's continue.
You need something to continue to motivate you to get going. And when you play for a coach like Bill, look, and I've done it. Look, I've had those moments when I was with the Cleveland Browns. I remember many times sitting there thinking, do I really want to continue doing this in this way? Because, look, I was playing for Coach Bill and for Nick Saban at the same time, man. So, look, that stuff can be a grind. It can be a grind. And we weren't winning at that level. So for Gronk to see him now, and again, it's not, and as Jeff said, it's not an indictment on Bill Belichick. It's just the fact that when we get to this point in our life and in our career, meaning you're an older player and you've accomplished so much, you need for it to be fun. And this is the other thing I just want to add in here. Remember, this year in particular, with the pandemic, with empty stadiums or, not filled to capacity type of stadiums and the kind of rigors that these players are being placed under and the kind of discipline they're going to have to show and the kind of things they're going to have to sacrifice to make sure we make it through this season, it's going to be even tougher for players mentally than it's ever been. So for Gronk to come back now,